Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Who wins election 2024? Now, I'll go to Beatrice Anan. Beatrice Anan is deputy spokesperson for the man who the polls favor, John Dramani Mahama. I'll go to her shortly. But before I do that, a few comments to read. And this one is from Abdul Rahim Mohammed from Akim of Wase, who says, Dr. Dankwa, Mr. Dankwa, don't you consider the polls that put His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as the winner by saying that Alan Chomanti merged the winner, so the surveys are not true for you? There is also Abdul Ghaffar Mohammed, who said number of parliamentary seats NPP and NDC likely to win come Saturday, December 7. These are my own analysis for MP's 2024 election. NPP is likely to win 111 to 122 seats in parliament, or less than that. NDC is likely to win 152 up to 163 seats in parliament, or more than that. For the presidential, 50% not decided. This is the Abdul Ghaffar Mohammed, who is doing his own analysis. It's simple. The NPP government has destroyed the country. If we don't rescue this country, come December 7, we are doomed forever. There's Francis Gordon, who says, who wins the upcoming elections? There is no doubt that JDM is going to emerge a winner. The reason being that he's consistent with his vision for Ghana, and the Ghanaians are going to vote for him massively. But for the butterflies, they'll have to try next time. Beatrice.
Yeah, good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers. As always, it's a pleasure to be on Alhaji and Alhaji, and I would wish that every Saturday I'm able to make it here, but it's not possible. Sometimes the backlash I receive from my people for not coming to Alhaji and Alhaji is just, but as always, it's a pleasure. I also want to say that in very recent times, and in fact from this week, I've been a bit active in the media. And what the NPP has been doing is churning a lot of fake news attributed to me. One on security, one on forming government, and so many other fake news, because certainly their campaign is sinking and they need to hold on to something. So I want to tell viewers and listeners that if you come across any such flyer on WhatsApp pages or on social media, Facebook, Twitter, now called X, and all that, please disregard it with all the contempt it deserves. I think that we are more focused on doing the right things. And even before I answer the question of who wins the 2024 election, I have to say that our campaign in 2024 is taking a lot of interesting dynamics. And so while we're on the field campaigning, you also see us back in Accra and back and forth, because we're engaging a lot of the international business communities and diplomatic communities. I think just 2 days ago, President Mahama held a meeting at the residence of the Ambassador of the United States with more than 25 people, or ambassadors and high commissioners from across our diplomatic and international community. And it tells you one thing: the international community is responding to change. And you know how they plan. They don't wait for a declaration, because they know. I'm told that EIU has not got their predictions wrong about Ghana's elections before. And the EIU is predicting, not just the EIU, the Fitch, Global Info Analytics and all that. So we are very focused, and we will not be distracted by these fake news from people who practically have run our country down. But on a lighter note, I also want to say that I think if you are bringing my senior here, sometimes please don't add me, because if he happened to speak before me, I wouldn't have had anything to say. So I'm happy I'm speaking before him so I can get something to say. And I maintain that he's taking a very good care of himself. He has a flat tummy, and the young people must learn that. I cannot but always stress that point. It's quite impressive. But back to the question of who wins the 2024 election. I want to make an invitation to our viewers and listeners that we must begin the discussion on the premise that the 2024 elections is not about the NDC, the NPP, and Alliance for Change, the CPP, and all the other political parties. This election is not just about one of those many elections we've had from 1992. This election is for the battle of the soul of our nation, and also to set a precedent for all political parties, including the NDC, to learn that when you are given power, you ought to use power for the good of the people in whose name and on whose behalf you exercise the powers of government. Because we have a certain worrying situation in our country currently. And I personally find it difficult how I can discuss our situation without being emotional and without being angry, because it is getting scary. Admittedly, we've had the NDC and the NPP as the two dominant parties. And in every election, the expectation is that if the NDC doesn't win, the NPP and vice versa. And so we've had an NPP government. In fact, by 7 December, when they'll be ending their term, in the Fourth Republic, the NPP would have had the opportunity of ruling this country for 16 years, and the NDC will also have had the same opportunity. And so it is important that in making the comparison and in discussing the 2024 election, we look at where we have come from, where we are, and then we can tell where we are going and why the 2024 election cannot be business as usual. First of all, I remember vividly well as a teenager in the run-up to the 2008 elections what the political discussions were, because those were the times I was discovering my political consciousness. And so yesterday I said on the sister station, I would listen to Alaji and Alaji as if it were a ritual, or as if a doctor had prescribed for me that if you didn't take that Saturday dose, something would happen to you. And I would listen to other media outlets, and I saw the levels of the discussion, that the NDC had built a certain number of polyclinics, and President Kufuor had done something. And then we contend we have done better, and they say that they needed to do this. And so the discussion had always been about we doing something, but perhaps the approaches may be different. So like the NDC believe in the national health insurance. We piloted it. And President Kufuor said he believed in the mutual health insurance, where only a certain community would have to use the card. And so that was the level of the discussion. What we are having to deal with in 2024 is practically even the NDC's legacy, the NPP's previous legacy, and state capture by the current administration. President Kufuor gave his brother, what's his name, Addo, something Addo Kufuor, minister. We never saw abuses. In fact, the language of family and friends never came into the political parlance, because we did not anticipate that merely because a president had given the brother some position, they will use it to amass wealth. Yeah, we accuse President Kufuor of corruption. We accuse every president of corruption. But the levels of depreciation we are experiencing today, we've never experienced that. That a president will give the daughter positions. Take it from the boss scandal. The president's daughter was the one who bought the contaminated fuel. The name Moving Pina came from Edwina, because that thing was decided as Moving Pig. So it's a combination of Moving Pig and Edwina, Moving Pina. That's $34 million will be doled out to the president's daughter's baby daddy, under the guise of repairing ambulances, which never got repaired anyway. If they were even repaired, the discussion would have been different. Maybe someone would say, because I don't have that $10 million, I'm just jealous of her. But that was never done. You have never had the levels of corruption. See, the biggest corruption scandal to have hit our country is the PDS scandal. In that PDS scandal, Ghana lost over $500 million. In the long to medium term, we lost in excess of $2 billion. The government is saying that we should applaud them because they went to the IMF for $3 billion. With all the strings attached that don't even employ people. We had a golden opportunity. And because of how corrupt Dr. Bawumia is, he unilaterally changed what would have been a bank guarantee to an insurance guarantee, and we lost that money. As if that is not enough, they have moved into ECG, a company which was making profits in 2016. Today, ECG has practically is under siege. Dr. Bawumia, under the guise of digitalization, has made Haptel go there and taking our monies like the PDS people did, where they took in excess of over 2 billion cedis by way of electricity bills, and we don't know where that money is. We have never had that level of moral decadence and lack of corruption in our national discourse. We've had our challenges as a nation. Of course, we are a third world country. I remember when President Mills was in power and Ghana attained a lower middle income status, and the excitement that greeted Ghana even within the sub-region. And so we agree that we have our struggles even as a developing country. But going into this election, in the area of infrastructure, if the NDC can show Dodowa Hospital, if the NDC can show the University of Ghana Medical Center, the Rich Hospital, the Bolgatanga Hospital, the Fomena, the Sewa, the Medina, the Nungwa, by way of hospital, by way of water projects, by way of hospital, the NPP has zilch to show. Even at the time when we had COVID, and we had an excess of 21 billion cedis, we could not build a single 100-bed memorial hospital in honor of COVID, saying that let our predecessors know that there was a time in the history of this country that in memory of COVID-19 we built this hospital to honor the people who even lost their lives. We don't have. And so in this 2024 election, the discussion is the NDC's achievements, as I've stated, in the area of health, against zilch from the NPP. Zilch means zero. Secondly, take the area of cocoa. The NDC, before we exited power, almost had 1 million tons of cocoa production, with free fertilizers supporting farmers, with mass spraying supporting farmers, with even bonuses being paid to farmers, with all the international challenges with the way to cocoa prices. We had that. Ghana was the leading producer. Today, and Cocoa Board was making profits. Cocoa Board could practically go onto the international market for a syndicated loan, and banks will be harassing Cocoa Board to come for the loan because you were so guaranteed that when it came to cocoa production, the country Ghana has some of the finest cocoa, and so people will buy and you will get your money. How did we descend so low that from 2017, Cocoa started making losses? Their office expenditure that they spend on buying A4 sheet, tea, CEO's allowance and whatever is more than the revenues that accrue. Today, Cocoa Board is in debt. Our cocoa production is under 500,000 tons. How did we get here? And somebody is asking who wins 2024 elections? In the area of, you know, there were soft things that we used to pride ourselves. When I was young, I used to do a lot of debate and speech writing and things. And quickly, if you were debating, there were some phrases that, I mean, even if you forgot anything, you will use. That Ghana was a beacon of democracy. That Ghana was a gateway to Africa. And some way, somehow, we found ourselves, we gave ourselves some of these nice accolades and all that, the international communities, and those phrases were very amusing to me. Today, we cannot no longer say that Ghana is a beacon of democracy because of the human right violation. Check even the press freedom. Check the index. We have descended so low that journalists have had to be killed because they express their opinion. Yesterday, I was sitting somewhere and I bumped into Oliver Bakavamawo, and I was laughing at him. And I said, these guys have made you popular because in 2014, 2015, I didn't know him personally, but I knew him by reason of his notes he left behind in law school for everybody as his legacy. And so we will read those notes at last minute. If you are not able to learn, he had summarized. So just look at the case law, he had summarized everything. He used to bash the NDC government, even from UK. Joy FM will give him the medium. Go and check Oliver's tweet from 2014. As I can recall, perhaps it may have started before that. He will bash government. Yesterday, I was even telling him some of those expressions and he was laughing. He bashed President Mahama and the NDC government, and he disagreed with us, and he called us names. You know why nobody got to know Oliver? Because we understood that dissenting opinions are part of the tenet of democracy. And he, Nanado, with all his locally acquired foreign accent and all those, and the Ghanaian people, and in the struggle for Ghana's independence, the Grand tradition, and all those things were because somebody accommodated his dissenting opinion. Today, you cannot even express a dissenting opinion under this government. People will call you security officers, commanders, whatever, military. They are telling you, they are giving you information because they cannot even ask for what is rightfully theirs, such as conditions of service. People have been gagged, and you want to sacrifice all these, challenges in 2024 election and even ask who will win the election. Don't you feel suffocated? A government that organizes vigil for George Floyd they have never met. Some of them have never gone to Minnesota, Minneapolis to know how the place looks like. That government organized a vigil, and yet Kaka was killed because he wanted better for his country, and nothing came out of it. Ayawaso West Wogon, Techiman, people were killed. The government that is quick to tweet about international death but leads its own people, and we are asking who will win 2024 election. We are sitting on a time bomb. And you see, we may have had our challenges. Our economy has not been, the best, even in time past. The NDC acknowledges that there was so much work to do. I remember when we had those, the turrets bearing of FPSO destroying, and we couldn't produce our oil, and the foreign currencies were not coming through and international oil prices had dropped substantially, you could see the urgency to resolve the situation, and it gave birth to the century consensus. And you could see cabinet ministers, I'm sure honorable dams at the time were so hot, and you could see that governance was a serious discussion. Even when we had been so, you could see the updates about the negotiation on acquiring power purchase, and that was my idea about governance, that you will face challenges and you will rise up to the occasion and solve. The moment you solve the first challenge, there are so many other challenges waiting for you, and you will keep solving, and the challenges will never end, because even in America they are solving their challenges, but you keep solving. You have a government that is telling you, Dr. Baumia is telling you that if I solve all your problems today, what will I do tomorrow? So for today, he's sleeping. And you see, it's the poverty of logic that these guys are inviting us to debate in the 2024 elections. That a man who is part of the government, the poverty of reason is that I was so instrumental that anytime I went to Addo that I wanted to develop an app, he allowed me to develop the app under the guise of digitalization. That anytime I wanted to do something online, he allowed me. But the role I was given as the head of the economic management team, I was not allowed. Meanwhile, Addo, for all his State of the Nation's address, check from 2017 through to 2023, who said that he wants to applaud Dr. Baumia for his stellar leadership in stabilizing the economy. And whereas Baumia is saying, I'm not responsible for the economy, I possibly cannot even be responsible. I'm not the president. The president says, oh, I'm applauding you, Baumia, by force. That is the poverty of, and you see, this government is gaslighting us. Gaslighting just means that although we know that this thing is wrong, it's illogical, it is unacceptable, let's keep repeating it. Just maybe it will become the norm, and it's becoming the norm. And before I conclude, there is a strategy and the NPP is using. And I want to call on all Ghanaians to listen to me carefully so that we can salvage our democracy, our rights, and our very future. Otherwise, it will be more disastrous than Zimbabwe. What is the NPP strategy? The NPP has taken a position that when you come to power, don't build hospitals. In fact, just award contracts and spread the hospitals across. Don't finish it. Just pay money. For every need the people are, just attempt solving it. So you look at Pualugu Dam. They never intended to construct the dam, because I think the dam was going to cost more than $1 billion. And they paid $12 million to someone to move there as if they were going to. That is not even 10% of the amount. So they knew ab initio that they were not going to construct the dam. Look at the motorway. They said we want to do a 6-lane. They've given people cutlasses to start weeding the motorway under the guise, and they've paid in excess of over $11 million. Agenda 111. They did not intend to finish. They just spread it so that there will be a discussion that, oh, we are doing. And then when they go to Parliament, they present a different report. But what I'm saying is that the NPP has recognized that the Ghanaian voter, or they think that the Ghanaian voter is interested in money and goodies before they vote. And so the monies they will use to construct the schools in your community, they have hoarded it. The money they would have used to construct Ridge Hospital Phase 2, they have hoarded it. The money they would have used to bring water, the electrification, rural electrification that the NDC was aggressively pursuing, they've halted all these projects. From second week in November, which will be about 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, they will come to your communities with different governmental names. Empowerment and livelihood support. Support for small and young scale businesses. And all the names. And what they will do is that they will come and share for you 500,000. They will bring your favorite artist during their rallies to excite you, the young people, to forget about your future because you are listening to Kim Paluta, Batsman, Samini, and all the artists that they have lined up and they can afford at the expense of your future. So when you get to the grounds or in the communities, you will hear these songs and you will be excited. On top of it, you'll be giving 500, 200,000. The market woman, the trotro driver, they will give you fuel coupon. They will give the farmers Wellington boots and fertilizers. They will look for that which is your immediate need and give you in the run-up to the election, so that you reduce the entire elections to who gave you what. I want to urge Ghanaians, please, these are bought with your money. Take it. Take whatever they give you. Take them. Accept them. But please, you have a duty, for the sake of you and I, for our future, for the sake of our young democracy, for the sake of all the machinery. Look at how these guys have acquired wealth. I'm sure that Honorable has been in power before. You never saw a minister stash so much money under her bed that even $1 million is stolen. She had no idea that $1 million of the money had been stolen. The money she stashed is not 1 million. So you can imagine Cecilia Dapa coming to your community and saying that I'm giving you money to go and vote. Can you ever exhaust the money under her bed? And so you have a duty to take these monies, but vote against those guys with all the anger and courage you can muster in you, so that every political party, including the NDC, the CPP, the Alliance for Change, and everybody will know that when you are giving political power and there is time for accountability, I don't think any government can steal more than the NPP government has stolen ever in the history. And so you have a duty to show them that even when they come and share the money, you will take it and vote on the basis of your conscience. That way, all of us will sit up in the boardrooms, in the cabinet, everywhere. Everybody will be discussing what can we do for the Ghanaian people. And finally, to the young people, I'm a young person. I'm just 34 years like many people. Actually, people think I'm very old. I enjoy it. But I'm a very young person with so much future ahead of me. I know what it feels like when you wake up and you don't have a job. Or even for those who have jobs, how you have to do calculation and recalculation. I know how it feels like for many mothers who have children and they do not have support. And the general economic condition has a rippling effect. So if you have a government that borrows their way and they don't care and nothing matters to them, and today you are having to buy, yesterday I was buying hot oven. I just took 50 cedis and I said, give me 3 loaves. The woman came back and said, please, it's no longer 15 cedis, it's 18 cedis. How did we move from buying the same bread at 3 cedis to 18 cedis? And how, if you have 3 or 2 kids, how many you give? It is so overwhelming that we have a duty to show the NPP that Ghanaians are not fools. That Ghanaians are not tribalistic. That merely because they think that Ashanti region will vote in a certain way and they will get a certain number, and Eastern region will vote in a certain way and they will get a certain number. So let's just combine these numbers. Let's share money in the other small regions and we are good to go. They may be good to go, but I keep saying, when the economy is worse, we will all suffer, but some will suffer more than others. And so you owe it a duty to Ghana not just to yourself, not just to your tribe, not just because a certain family member says that you were born into a certain tradition, but because we need to rescue our country. We need to come together to build the Ghana we all want. And certainly at this time, we can only but give the country to someone who has the experience. Because how else are you going to manage this thing if you've never held a cabinet meeting and you've never dealt with international community and you don't have that requisite? I'm sure whoever comes out near himself will use about 2 years to learn about how to do some of these things. And so we owe it a duty for the love of our country, not just about the NDC. This election is not about the NDC. Even if the NDC loses, God forbid, and the NDC will not lose, the NDC will survive. The NDC is a political party that has gone through some turbulence, and when everybody thought the NDC cannot come back, they came back even stronger. But this election is about your future. It's about our country. And so if you ask me who wins the 2024 election, we all know that the way the party is structured, the country is structured, it's a two-party state. I know some of you may have been disgruntled with and you are tired of the NDC NPP politics, but the NDC is the only political party that has the structure, that has the requisite human resource to form a government and to make your lives better. Not just that, you have seen the NDC's track record, you are experiencing the NPP, and you know that amongst these two parties, the NDC is light years ahead. The NDC is nationalistic. The NDC is made up of people who do not think that the party is owned by their uncle. I'm a typical example. All I did was to come on air, and President Mahama does not know my mother, has never met my father, does not even know where they stay. She says, come and speak for me. It can only happen in the NDC. So we do not give positions on the basis of tribe and alliance. These guys have, it's like an inheritance. That is why it was not Alan Tremanson's time and he has to leave. Even though by their structure, they said it was his time. So you have a duty to reject the NPP. Reject the NPP with everything you can so that we can raise the level of the public discourse, because it is too low now.
Thank you. If you do something like that, is it a seat that they are yet to contest for, which no one can tell if they will win or not? How do you vacate something you don't have? Let's stop. Good morning to you, man. There's Alhaji Haruna Ishama. The only way to kick out this cruelest MP administration is to be vigilant on polling day. There's John Bawa, Abeduni Robert, who says, good morning. The NPP are implementing the Ejapadia document, so those in the NPP party should not take this for granted because their future is at risk and because of tribal politics they are following a chain mafia. Beatrice?
I don't even know what to say. I wanted to concede my time to my senior because he's practically made all the points. I was wondering if he was even looking at my notes. I was mentioning all that, but I think what I want to say is that this issue should be a wake-up call when we talk about the NPP. It's not just because we are doing politics. And President Addo behaves like an Arabian king and behaves as if when the father was dying, he called him and said, you know what? I will Ghana to you. You know, the NPP has a history of willing Ghana and properties of the state like Sir John did, and in many instances. And so they have a certain nauseating sense of entitlement, which is not rooted in this concept of democracy. And sometimes when people say that Addo did not really attend law school, even if you do not have evidence, you cannot also dispute some of these allegations because of his actions and inactions. Because I doubt, and there are 3 lawyers here, how somebody goes to law school, sits in the constitutional law class, writes a constitutional law exams and passes, and confronted with a situation, plunges all of us into a constitutional crisis. And has another leader in parliament, now the minority leader, Afenyo Makin, who is more concerned about how he is addressed and what position he occupies than the general welfare of the Ghanaian people. But I want to send a note of caution to the NPP and to say that the past is not the present. And the things they did in 2020, believing that the NDC was so civilized, the NDC would not push and make reckless statements because President Mahama has not made statements like there will be another Arab Spring, and now sebi obia will mienu or die be die. And so some way somehow they are under a certain wrong impression. I think that if anybody knows the NDC better, it should be the NPP. What the capabilities of the NDC as a political party are. So I want to say that all these things we are having, or all these constitutional crises we are having, it's because Addo behaves like somebody who was not elected, like the country is for him. So we are all subject to his feelings. When he is happy, we have to be happy. When he's sad, everybody must suffer. Otherwise, one of the things that Parliament does a lot is consensus building. In fact, Parliament builds consensus so much that if you do not understand the workings of Parliament, sometimes they say that NPP and NDC are the same. In fact, the notion that the NPP and the NDC are the same came from the consensus that Parliament built. Because normally, they would have agreed on the way. Even when you see them, sometimes you see us fighting. Honorable is on some page with me. You see us fighting our parliamentarians. Because even when they appear to be opposing the thing, by the time the thing has passed. So Parliament built consensus. So for us to get to this level, to the extent that we are fighting over chairs, and the MPP's concern is not you and I, but where they sit, should tell you the levels of lowness that these guys have introduced into public discourse and our governance structure. And you know, I want to say that the NPP are a group of dishonest people. That sometimes it appears the only time you can be honest and have a little bit of conscience is to leave them. Because in very recent times when I watch TV and I listen to communicators from Alliance for Change, I wonder, so all of you were in the NPP. Lawyer here has made a very brilliant submission. And sometimes I wonder, on last Thursday I was on the show with one other person called Rodalyn. And if you look at the questions, and she said, as for her, she's never been part of the NPP.
Yeah, she's been CPP.
Yeah, she was CPP. But it appears that when you associate with the NPP, Ghana would not matter again. It is NPP, their pockets, and Ghana last. First of all, we were in this country when organized labor said they wanted to go on strike because of the rippling effect of the Galamsey. And the presidents who had this LI 2462, who was the one granting mining leases for people to go and, mine in the forest bodies and destroy our water bodies, who could have unilaterally said that, you know what, the LI empowers me, so by even an executive fiat, I would not implement the provisions of the LI. Let's ban Galamsey activities in the forest and in water bodies. He could have just said that. Because he's not committed to fighting the Galamsey, he said, you know what, don't go on strike. I would take the LI to Parliament for Parliament to revoke the LI. And they created the impression that they had to recall Parliament to come and, conduct this government business. So that the first priority of government business was the revocation of LI 2462. Then they said that, you know what, in this country, it matters not what our challenges are, whether you are unemployed, whether you can't pay your rent, whether you can't have a hospital, water, everything, our solution should be free SHS. And that the NDC is so opposed to the free SHS that they needed to bring a free SHS bill to solidify the free SHS and make sure that no government comes to abolish the free SHS. To the amazement and disappointment of Ghanaians. The memo, which is a petition and asking the Speaker to recall Parliament within 7 days, does not contain, as part of what the NPP considered urgent government business, a revocation of the LI 2462. It does not contain that. It does not contain the free SHS bill. It contains the interstate successions bill. A law, I want to see the memorandum to that act to see what even our challenges are currently with it. And the fact that the government wants to go for a $250 million additional loan. They need money for elections to come and share for you. So 6 weeks that we are going to an election, these are the things the government considers urgent government business, for which reason they have to recall Parliament. So what happened to the revocation of the LI? What happened with the much cherished protection of the free SHS? It tells you the levels of dishonesty, the hypocrites we are dealing with. The people have no regard. This in law we call negligence. It is a wanton disregard to our welfare as Ghanaians. They simply don't care. The president, people can be complaining that we have cholera outbreak, and he will charter the private jets. He wants to bath in the air. That was, and all we can do is to come and sit here and talk. He is not even watching the show. He is probably not even listening to any Ghanaian media. He's taking, some of the most expensive wine and Bel Air and having VSOP and doing a lot of things. They simply don't care. And I think that let nobody mislead you that the Speaker has done something wrong. What they are trying to do is to cause disaffection for Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what happened last Tuesday has shown that he is a very wise person. He has practically had to save our democracy. These guys are a group of people who do not care. You see, they can't even see beyond their nose. This is the president that came to tell us there will be no haircut. And in less than 2 weeks, he could not even see that there will be a haircut. Okay. These guys must be rejected by every Ghanaian. The NPP must go back and restructure their party, because we also need our democracy. And so they have to go back home and sit, have a sober reflection, and you and I have that duty to vote against them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ishak, I'll come to you shortly. Masola Kwabli says, Akufo-Addo in 2016 told us to try him and Baumia. We tried them, and they ended up leading us into the trying times we have found ourselves in today. As if that is not enough, they are again adding salt to our injuries, telling us to try Baumia, who failed woefully as the chairman of the economic management team, to become president. We are not going to do...
I'm not PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, I PENDREAM TV.